right, it is Thursday morning, my favorite day of the week.
That's it.
We have LOY HARDCASTLE, the round-the-clock realtor here, Tom Lawrence. This is the Real Estate Roundtable. Good morning, gentlemen.
It's Realtor.
What'd you say, realtor?
Realtor.
Realtor, well, that's all right. I don't care what you call me, just call
Just
me.
call.
Just call me. Well, good morning, and it's a beautiful day. It's getting a little cloudy. You know, watching the weather report this morning on the Weather Channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Just happened to flip around the channel because I'm not watching the news right now. I don't want to watch the news. So I'm watching the Weather Channel.
Yeah.
And it's talking about another storm down in the Gulf.
Number 27?
Something like that. And it is
Wow.
going to be bringing rain and swirling around for days. They just kept saying it's going to keep swirling because it doesn't have this high pressure pushing it off and what. It's just going to hang in there. And talking about how much rain Florida is going to be. They were talking about 20 inches and so forth.
This is a pinball hurricane.
Is that what,
It
well, that makes
bounces-
sense.
It's
Yeah.
bouncing off Central America right now.
Wow.
And it will next stop Cuba, next stop Miami. Hopefully it'll go right and go up the East Coast.
What didn't John Kennedy call it? Cuba?
Cuba?
That was that New England,
Yeah.
Chappaquiddick area
Yeah.
slang. Anyway, good morning. Everything's
Oh.
lovely here. A beautiful day out there.
Are there birthdays about
I
today?
think Ronnie had one or two.
I haven't had any. I do know it's
Oh, wow.
Roy Rogers Day.
Well,
Oh.
you know, well, it's Roy Rogers Day, but that's
Happy
Leonard
trail.
Sly.
Right.
Is that his name?
Leonard Sly.
Yeah.
Born on this day in 1911. That was Roy Rogers.
1911.
1911, yeah. And that, you know, I'm sure as a child you watched that series.
Oh,
Roy
sure. With
Rogers
Debbie
and
Hayes
Debbie
and Dale Evans.
And what was the name of the Jeep?
Clarabelle.
Clarabelle. Oh, well, no.
Not Clarabelle.
Not Clarabelle. Lilybell? Or
Yeah, it was something with a
like
bell. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, no, one Clarabelle. That was a clown.
From
That was
Howdy
another
Doody.
show. That was another
Yeah.
show. 1913. This is a great actress born on this day. 1913. Vivian Leigh.
Very good
Now,
actress.
very good actress, and of course, I guess her biggest claim to fame was Gone with the Wind. She was Scarlett O'Hara. And you know, it's funny, that name, Scarlett O'Hara, has kind of turned into a symptom that's described by psychologists and things that they've got the Scarlett O'Hara syndrome, sort of,
Wow.
yeah, kind of like a histrionic personality type thing. But anyway, and she was 26 years old when she played that role in Gone with the Wind.
What was the line? I will never go hungry again.
Never
was
go
it?
hungry again. That's right. And you know, I meant to look this up, and something distracted me. I forgot what she made for that film, but it just wasn't anything.
Just a few thousand.
Yeah.
No, and you,
Yeah. And think about what's happened over the
Yeah.
years with that and royalties it could have been. Anyway, on this day in 1919, this is a guy that I sort of used to make fun of because I was a kid and I just didn't happen to like what he did. And he was a musician. He was an accordion player. So I thought, ha ha, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Myron Thorne.
Oh yeah, from Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence Welk, and he was with Lawrence Welk for I think over 30 years. But he was probably the most accomplished accordion player that's ever lived. And I had read where even as good as he would practice 2 or 3 hours every day.
I can believe it.
And he was, and when you watch him on, of course, Lawrence Welk's still on reruns.
You can't have a polka without the accordion.
That's right. But when you watch
Thanks so much.
Myron Thorne play the accordion,
Yep.
it's effortless.
Yeah.
And he smiles the whole time. He's not moving his mouth, you know.
Wonder how many accordions he had.
I don't know, but what a great player. Anyway, Myron Thorne, born on this day in 1919. Here's another.
Do the Exotics have an accordion?
No. We have a keyboard though. That's similar, I guess. You just don't have to hold it. But then 1931. This is kind of an infamous guy, Ike Turner. Ike and Tina Turner. Ike was born on this day in 1931, and pretty tough old character, you know.
Now he's gone.
He's gone. He's gone. Here's a young lady that used to be very, very
Nellie Bell.
well like Nellie Bell. That's
Nellie
right.
Bell.
That's right.
Thanks,
And
listeners.
We knew it had some kind of bell in there. Elkie Summer, you remember her?
Yeah. Oh, how can you forget Elkie?
Yeah, hot blonde, something there. Elkie Summer, born on this day in 1940. And another musician, Art Garfunkel.
Oh yeah.
He had blonde hair too, I think.
When he had hair.
Yeah, 1941. And then this day in history,
Art
Susan.
Garfunkel is 79.
Yeah, he was born on this
Wow.
day in 41, that's right.
Yeah.
And still singing.
Yeah.
Good for him. I hope to be playing and singing.
79.
Susan B. Anthony, which
Yeah.
that's a famous name. I didn't realize this. She was fined, and I guess this is what brought her to fame. She was fined $100 on this day in 1872 for trying to vote for president. And so she was fined. You couldn't, women didn't have
That's
the vote.
a big
It
fine back
was,
then.
and women didn't have the vote.
No.
See, so she was fined. She never had to pay it, but she was fined. I guess that started that women's movement, which good for her. Here's something we've all done: Monopoly.
Yeah.
The Monopoly game was
Still
introduced on this day. Yeah, it's still going strong. Yeah, it's one of the best-selling games even today. On this day in 1935,
Man.
Monopoly. Speaking of John Kennedy, he was elected to Congress on this day back in 1946, and he was 29 years old.
Wow.
Pretty good. Pretty
And
good.
he was elected to the presidency. It would have been pretty close to this day.
Yeah, yeah. And then in 1994, George Foreman, who sells grills now and all that sort of stuff, became the oldest heavyweight champion. On this day in 1994, he was 45 years old.
Now, was he? At one time, he beat Muhammad Ali, didn't he?
I don't know about that. I don't think Foreman did. I can't remember the name of the fighters. Maybe somebody remembers
Yeah.
that. Maybe somebody's calling it that.
Vivian Lee made $20,000
Oh my
For-
gosh.
for a flat fee. The film earned, in its first year, $35 million. This was back in the 30s now.
Robert Knight.
Imagine what it's made
Oh my
since
gosh.
then.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. No, it's hard to imagine.
On this
Hard to
day,
imagine.
okay.
Do you remember when the Franklin Theater would had one
I'll get to
weekend
that.
every year?
I'll
They
get
would
to
have
that.
Gone
Thank
with the
you so
Wind.
much.
I do that. I do, but I
I
also
do
saw
now.
Gone with the Wind as a child
Yeah.
in that theater. Now, it was introduced in the late 30s, early 40s, I guess. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't see it. I wasn't born then.
Yeah.
First run, but that's where I first saw Gone with the Wind, was at the Franklin Theater. when
And
I was a kid.
everyone went to see it because it mentioned Franklin.
I think one of the
Yeah.
things I found interesting about
I'll-
Gone with the Wind, I think it was the first movie that I had ever been
Thank
to
you
that
so
had
much
an
for listening.
intermission.
Yeah.
Because it was long, and I didn't realize what that was, an intermission, but
Name
found out.
two more movies that had intermissions.
Sound of Music.
Sound
comes
of
to
Music,
mind,
and-
had an intermission, and
Ben-Hur.
yeah, Ben-Hur, that's right,
And Lawrence of Arabia.
yeah, and all great movies,
Yeah.
great films. Anyway, great characters, all that, great films, and I don't know what kind of films are coming out today. I see some things on TV lately that have been introduced, coming soon, and all that sort of stuff. I have no desire to go see these things. Most of them are completely violent or Star Wars-ish type things, and a lot of them are animated movies.
The listeners are very active today.
Oh, wonderful.
Robert Knight died 4 years ago today.
Robert Knight, yeah, well. There's an interesting picture in the In Focus magazine on the next to the last page of a band playing at the band shell in Centennial Park in Nashville. We've been lucky to play there. The Exotics have played there before. But Clifford Curry is singing, but in the background, in the band, is Buzz Cason
Wow.
and Mac Gaden. Since
Yeah.
you mentioned Robert Knight, Buzz and Mac wrote Everlasting Love and got Robert, of course, to sing it, and it became an iconic
Yeah.
hit. And no telling how many plays per day that song still gets. But that's an interesting picture. That picture was probably taken back in the early 60s, I would say, probably 61, 62. But it's in the In Focus magazine, so get that. That's a little piece that a lot of people would probably remember, especially with Mac Gaden and Buzz Cason in the band in the background. Pretty interesting stuff, I think. But anyway, moving along, Lots of things going on. I do want to mention one thing, though, by the way. I think we need to. And a friend of yours, and there's an article in the Williamson Herald this morning about Joe Biddle.
Yes.
Joe Biddle, probably everybody that lives in this area and has for a while knows Joe Biddle and has read no telling how many columns and articles he's written or heard him speak at some sort of club, like a Rotary Club or Lions Club or
on
school,
the radio, yeah.
School function, and just Biddle has been the voice of sports and the authority, yeah. I guess you'd say, for years. And it's been announced that Joe is in a state has a problem with dementia now, and they have someone has started a GoFundMe page for Joe Biddle, and so for those that have read his columns, I should say, over the years, think about going to that GoFundMe page for Joe Biddle and trying to help that family out. Joe's the kind of guy that would never ask for it, and he did not start the GoFundMe page. So keep him in your thoughts, and if you can, donate to his GoFundMe page. They need that for the care that he's getting right now.
Want to thank the Williamson Herald for their special section on Veterans Day.
Big section. Be sure to get that and read it. Interesting information in there. Pictures, articles, and things about the local heroes, local veterans, and it's always interesting to see some of the people that you might not have realized did what they did. And a lot of those people never talk about it, so you have to see it in media like this, to a medium, to understand what some of these people have done. So take a look at that, and then don't forget the Veterans Day Parade, which is next week.
Next
Yes,
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday at Harlansdale. So everybody needs to go out there. It's a reverse parade, and I know what that means now.
No,
But that's okay. But you stay in your car. You don't even have to, sit. You just go out there in your car and ride through these special people on both sides of the road there, and it'll be a great day. Hopefully the weather will be good. That new storm we were talking about earlier, I hope will stay in Florida, so you won't be affected by that.
Well, even with the hurricane, there's a 40% chance of rain, which means there's a 60% chance that it won't rain. So
That's right, be on the upside,
Yeah.
be on the positive, yeah, half full instead of half empty. Anyway, moving on, we've got some things to talk about this morning. We keep talking about the real estate inventory, and I looked, and the current number of listings is 508. 508.
we're
Now,
about to drop under 500.
just to show you what that's like, the sales in October, now that we finished October, was 588. Sold 588 homes in October. And of course, that just continues to bring the inventory down because there's not enough inventory that is coming back on the market to take care of the demand. See, we're now selling more in 30 days than we're supplying.
What could you sell?
I don't know what that number would be, probably at least twice that, I would say. Because, see, that's one reason that so many condos and apartments are being constructed right now, because people that are moving in here don't have anywhere to go. And so they've got to come here for their jobs and things, and then ultimately, hopefully, find a house. But in the meantime, they've got to live somewhere. So when you go out to Cool Springs particularly, and you go, why are all these condos and apartments being built? Well, there's your answer right there. There's just not enough product for people to come in here and purchase. And don't forget, we've still got tons of first-time home buyers, young folks that have gotten of age now and for one reason or another want to buy a house or want to buy a condo. And so we've got a lot of that demand with younger people that have grown up.
Right down the street here, Lloyd, just maybe 3 doors down, there's this practically brand new condominium, 3 stories.
Right.
They started at $188,000. What do you think they're selling for now?
Well, a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And that very seldom does one even come up
Yeah.
for sale, see. And that's one of the things that we've talked about, and that is prices. And I don't know whether you want to call it runaway prices, but it's serious prices. I mean, anybody that looks around Franklin and Williamson County today for a home understands what I'm talking about. And you and I have been around a while. I went and stopped and bought a cup of coffee on the way out here, paid $2.58 for a small cup of coffee. On the way out of that location, I said, you know, I used to get a nickel cup of coffee at Sandlin. Well, and that I'm not trying to talk about old times that way, but just think, a nickel cup of coffee is transferred to a $2.58 cup of coffee. So that's the same thing.
And that's not even Starbucks, is it?
No, not Starbucks. That would have been even more.
Yeah.
But
or Dunkin'
So
Donuts.
that's the same thing that
Yeah.
you see in property. I mean, everywhere you look, gasoline. I mean, yes, I know, but it's scary when it occurs with big dollars,
Yeah.
because $100,000 turns into 300,000, or 300 turns into 700. I mean, it's just phenomenal, and we're seeing in some cases, and this is not a joke, we're seeing in some cases houses bringing $100,000 over asking price. And the asking price is already set by market. So we're having people that are moving in here and are paying this kind of money for houses. So what does that do for the rest of people that are looking for a home of any kind, really? But it just continues to push the prices up. Now, I'm not trying to be gloom and doom, because you got to remember that some of that's offset by the 2.5% interest rate. So that's quite good when you compare that to what we thought was really great just a few years ago at 7%, 6 and 7%. We thought that was fabulous. Well, now it's down to 2.5 on a fixed mortgage.
Taxes are relatively low.
Taxes are, and then of course your taxes, remember, are rolled into your mortgage
Yeah.
anyway, as well as your insurance, so you don't have to think about all those different bills you have to pay. You just look at one figure for your mortgage, and that's at a 2.5% rate in most cases, and lower. So, you know, it's I guess it's all relative when you think about it. This $2.50 cup of coffee, I mean, yes, we're all making more than we did back in 1960, okay, when this coffee was a nickel down at Sandlin's. So again, it's all relative, but in the real estate world, it really is translating to higher and higher prices, and with lower inventory, it just means that that trend is going to continue, because we still have people moving in here literally from all over the country. And I'm sure people have by now noticed a lot of cars running around with California plates.
Yeah.
That they have not yet gone to get their Tennessee plates. I deal, and I'm just one realtor, I deal with California buyers all the time that are coming in here and not knowing exactly where they want to live, and I got that. Downtown, East Franklin, West Franklin, Brentwood, you know, where do they want to go? It's kind of hard to take somebody from a place like that, that if they really don't know where they want to go, to try to start showing them something and say, well, what about over here? Well, what about, because we have so much to offer when you're talking about locations, pockets of, you know, little communities around Franklin, or do you want to be right in the middle of, you know, Cool Springs or something like that? So we've got a lot to offer, and there's a lot to do to educate a buyer rather quickly, because sometimes they come in here and say, well, I'm going to be here for a couple of days, and you start to say you can't learn anything hardly in 2 days' time, because there is just so much to talk about. But at any rate, just keep in mind that if you are thinking about selling, it's a wonderful time, but I keep saying, if you're thinking about selling, we need to think about where you're going from there and sort of have a plan, because I've mentioned this before. I know where we've sold people's houses quicker than they thought, and they'd say, wait a second, I don't have anywhere to go, and can we withdraw from this deal? And you, of course the answer is yeah, but you're subjecting yourself to a court situation, and nobody really wants to get into that. But at any rate, October sales were 588 houses. Now, compare that, now this is pandemic time, you know, this is virus time. In 2019, just a year ago, no pandemic, things going well, we sold 478 homes. So that's nearly 20% higher sales this October than last October.
What would it be without a pandemic? So,
Yeah, well, and again, yes, but that's still going to be based on the supply.
yeah,
And the supply
right. You
is
can't
just,
buy what's not there.
That's exactly right. And there are a lot of listings right now that are that don't even have pictures because the house isn't built. So you can maybe latch on to something like that, and you say, well, I'll try to go ahead and contract on that. But a lot of those contractors and developers won't take a deal if you've got a house to sell. Because if your purchase of their house is contingent on your house selling, they don't know that your house will sell, even though it probably will, but they don't want to take that chance. And they'll sell it to somebody else that doesn't have a house to sell. And, so you gotta have some options today. Now, one option that I'm gonna mention, and that is something called a home equity loan. You probably should try to put yourself in a position to where you can purchase another home without selling your home. And a home equity line can really help you do that if you've got equity built up in your home. Of course, that depends on what you want to buy, I realize. But
A HELOC.
A HELOC, that's exactly right, a home equity loan. And you can go in and you can set yourself up where you can buy another home without having to sell yours. Now, a lot of people say, oh my gosh, that's dangerous. Well, not really in today's market, because chances of you selling your house are pretty darn good. All you have to do is put it somewhere within the market, whatever the market is, and you can find out what that is, by calling a realtor. But anyway, so find out what the value of your home is, and just know you need to price it in that range somewhere, and you'll be okay. You might go, oh my gosh, I have 2 houses, 2 mortgages. Well, you can always sign up for your new one and put that first payment out 45 days. So you've got that length of time to sell your home. And the days on the market, by the way, currently are 28. Average days on the market, 28 days. So when you start to look at the numbers, it's maybe scary, but then when you really look at the reality of these numbers, it's a pretty sure bet that you can get yourself in a position to buy without selling your home. And then when you are getting closer, then put your house on the market and go ahead and sell that, get it out of the way, and you're ready to buy your other home.
Are there many people out there that strictly invest in Franklin real estate instead of the stock market?
There are some, and what they do in those cases, some people will buy homes and they become landlords where they will rent. And that's okay if you've got the stomach for it. You just have to be prepared, because there are, on paper it looks great. You pay X number of dollars, and even if you finance it, you've got a monthly note, but then when you can rent it out for more than that, and you start looking at some tax advantages and all sorts of things. So this is great. My renter is buying the house for me. That is good if all goes well, but if your renter messes up, shall we say, and either doesn't pay the rent, and then you have to evict them, and then they've damaged the house and all sorts of things, you can spend far more than what you ever made. And so you just have to be prepared. It is a risk, like the stock market. Of course, the stock market historically has always been on the plus side for investors. If you look at it on a daily basis, it didn't always, but if you let your money stay in there for a while, it's good. But your investors, yes. Some people want to still buy a house to quote unquote flip. That's a hard number to find today, because of what you have to pay even for a house that needs work. And then you buy that house at a high price, and then you work on it, and then you turn around and hope to make a profit. It's harder to do than ever, because there's just not that many available. When I started real estate 25 years ago, gosh, there were a lot of homes that you could buy and flip, because there were a lot of homes around Franklin that had not been remodeled yet. A lot of homes in downtown Franklin. The first house I sold was on Fair Street for $125,000. And you couldn't buy a square foot, hardly, on Fair Street now for that kind of money, without a house on it. But, and that house didn't need remodeling. But I'm just saying, back in the day, there were a lot available like
Yeah.
that. But today, most of those have been done already, so that puts that in short supply. But investors are still out there, yes, looking for property. Price, I don't want to talk too much about price, but talking about investment, since you were talking about that, the prices have gone up over 2019 from October to October, 7%. So that's a pretty good investment. And we had some peaks that you'd have some timing at maybe 12, 13% a month, but overall it's still gone up 7%. So that's really good, that's strong in a year, especially talking about a pandemic type of situation. So the market is still really good. And one of the things that happened yesterday, and I'll just mention this briefly, is I'm working with someone, and this affects a lot of people, working with someone who had passed away and working with their estate. They're waiting for a letter to clear the property coming from TennCare. Now, if you've had a relative that depended on and received money from the state for any particular part of that illness and care, then they will take their money out of the sale first. Got to remember that. That's got to come out. Now, if you haven't had money, you still need to clear your estate through probate and still get a letter from TennCare that you don't owe anything to TennCare. So that's an important step. And you think, well, I'll just sell the property. Well, there are steps that you have to go through, and you need to get with a lawyer, really, and get that handled through probate, and then you will learn to do those kind of things. But these people forgot about this letter. And so we're waiting on TennCare to release the property in order to close it. And fortunately for them, they didn't have any money that they had gotten from the state. They are still clearing it through TennCare.
Just one more reason you need a competent, qualified, aggressive realtor.
It's just another step. That's right. And you don't want to get caught. And delays are delays, and delays are costly, because if someone is trying to buy something and they've got to have it by a certain time, and your contract says that you close at a certain date, and then you can't because of just a letter, well, it really messes up everybody. The buyer could possibly have to get a motel, or I mean, it just all kinds of weird things can happen, and they will happen, and it's Murphy's Law, you know, that if something can go wrong, it will. So you got to look at all of the little things that you never think about, and that's why it is best to, certainly if something like that happens with an estate, start that probate process quickly, even though a lot of people just don't like to get into that stuff. You just have to do it. It's just one of those things. But get it started early with somebody that knows how to handle those things and can help you get through it. Because it'll cost you if you don't. I can just tell you that. You say, well, it'll cost me if I do. Yep. But it'll sure cost you a lot more generally if you don't. So get prepared for that sort of thing and get yourself in a good position to sell and move on.
What is it if you, for sale by owner, you have a fool for a client?
You know, I had a for sale by owner call me the other day, and we met to maybe put their house on the market. And it was funny, the gentleman, a very confident person, there's nothing wrong with anything like that. They know what they're doing, but they just got tired of people calling and saying, what about this, what about that, can you do this, can you do that? And they said, you know, we just didn't want to deal with that anymore. Plus they didn't sell it. So for sale by owner is certainly not what it's all cranked up to be, but we can help you sell, we can help you buy. I say I always say we, but I can help you. I can help you buy and sell. I can help you with your mortgage. I can help you with a whole lot of things real estate wise. So if you need a realtor, give me a call, LOY HARDCASTLE at Bob Parks Realty, 615-790-7400, or stop by our new office at 106 East Main in the new Harpeth Square building right behind Landmark Booksellers.
Tomorrow morning, about 7:05.
7:05.
News is next.